don't know, is the branch of psychoanalysis that grew to fruition in America after the Second World War, largely fueled by Jewish migrants from Europe. Influenced theoretically by Anna Freud and her work in this country, but nevertheless kind of both homegrown to America and transplanted from Europe. Anyway, what was characteristic of ego psychology was literally its focus on the ego, that is, on that bit of the mental mechanism which is in negotiation between the unconscious and the external world. The bit which people think about as the symbolized element of their selves, again putting it very schematically. So why is this criticized? Because according to Lacan, and according to lots of others as well, Russell Jacobi is the best known example of a kind of critical leftist work on psychoanalysis. Because according to these people, this is adaptational, because its interest is in how can the ego negotiate with its environment to make it possible to live in this kind of society. Those are the normal critiques. And of course, they're right. Of course they're right. And there are many compromises attached to ego psychology. And Lacan parodies ego psychology very effectively, and other people have provided a more systematic critique of it. So they're right. What I'm going to say now doesn't object to that argument. I do want to point out something else that's going on in the rise of ego psychology after the war. This is important. After the Second World War, by predominantly migrants from Europe who had fled Nazism. So there is also, whatever the criticism one might have about it, there is also the principled stance that they're taking against irrationality. So what they're saying, what they're seeing is the overwhelming of an advanced European culture by forces of barbarism. And that's the language those people are using at the time, by forces of barbarism, by an explosion of the kind of irrational unconscious element, if you like, that psychoanalysis in certain of its forms might be interested to contest. So in the work that they're doing, they are developing a system which lends itself to adaptational thinking. But they're also taking a stance against the demise of rationality in the forms of the kind of highest achievements of European culture. A very interesting tension. And just to reiterate, I'm not defending ego psychology here. I do think the critiques of it are very powerful. I've written in that mode myself. But I also feel slightly embarrassed at those moments when you look at what happens, particularly in the 1950s, actually, in American psychoanalysis, and you see these are actually pretty sophisticated people. And some of the time, at least, they know what they're on about. And what they're on about is, can we develop a system which will genuinely take a stance against the recurrence of this irrationality? Why don't I bring that in here? I don't just occur to me, I haven't had to, but I think it was an association to this sort of tension between the expressive nature and the colonizing nature of psychoanalysis.